talking about crazy, let's move over. Let's talk about the quarterback, because it all ends with him in terms of what this thing will really look like moving forward. And Frank, I can confidently say we've been kind of in the back, of the masses yelling, it's fine, he's fine, everything's gonna be fine. They have their quarterback of the future. There's no doubt about it. And that game just absolutely proved it. Caleb Williams, 32, 47, 340 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, a passer rating of 103.1, 6 carries, 33 yards. Took a couple of sacks that he shouldn't have. I do want to talk about that last sack, because I was watching the All-22 and I found something a little bit interesting about it. But let's stick with Caleb. Frank, those are the throws we've been waiting for, man. Those piss missiles that he's just stepping up into the pocket, confidently throwing into tight windows. There was that one in the first quarter, I think it was, where he just he threw it to Keenan. I thought the ball had either gotten batted down or picked off, and Keenan's just running away for another 10 to 15 yards. And I just was like, wait, what just happened? What just happened? We haven't seen arm strength like that since Jay Cutler.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the DJ Moore throw to lead to the field goal to tie it up. There was a couple of Cole Kmet throws down the seam that were fucking incredible. That one that you just talked about, the Keenan Allen, obviously the highlight of the day was that rolling right. I mean, he just jumps off of both feet and just lofts it to DeAndre Swift on an absolute rope. I mean, listen, again, you were right. Me and you were banging the table saying, I know it doesn't look great.
And Nas. Let's give him his flowers.
Yeah. And Nas saying, I know it doesn't look great, but and I know it's become a common thing to blame offensive coordinators, but I do think us in particular, I can't speak for everybody who makes Bears content, was able to separate what the OC was doing wrong and where the quarterback was going wrong. And that dates back to Mitch Trubisky. We've been doing this. And again, when you break down the All-22, Caleb's eyes and where he's looking at reads and going through his progressions is already more advanced than anything we've ever had before. So he still has some inaccuracy issues every now and then. We'll continue to notate those. But we, at the end of the day, knew things were right, because what we saw, something that you were sort of bringing up, I mean, we haven't seen in the last 2 weeks a receiver and a tight end being in the same exact spot because they thought that was the route they were supposed to run. Everything's there. So when we knew he was going to get this competent play calling or whenever it was going to happen, we were going to get this. And he was absolutely phenomenal. I think that outside of his arm talent, which is there, and his ability to read a defense, which is there, his IQ is extremely high. His ability to manipulate with his eyes is extremely high. Some of these throws, as soon as he threw them, I just remember it was 2 weeks after drafting him, and he was throwing to DJ and I think Rome in the offseason, and they were like, yeah, I know, you guys are shorts and shirt, and pads aren't on or whatever, but is there any differences that you see with Caleb? And DJ is his anticipation is crazy. It's there. I can see. And I'm just looking at some of these throws, that's what DJ was talking about right there. It was incredible. But Jack, the last thing with me is he's doing what we were telling him to do earlier in the year. It was once you feel that pressure, once you even if you feel like you're leaving the pocket a little too early, that's okay. Use your gifts to your advantage. Roll to the right, roll to the left, move up and do things so to me, that was very clearly a Waldron thing to stay in the pocket for as long as possible, get through X amount of reads before you even consider it, because he's just playing so much more free and loose. And to your point, just these piss missiles, just letting those fucking things up. That throw, I know we've had some, you're thinking of the Mitch one where he's rolling right and throws it 60. We had some crazy throws from quarterbacks in the past. Jay has made some phenomenal throws, even Caleb this year. But that throw in the fourth quarter, stepping up in the pocket, just a fucking missile to DJ Moore to lead to that field goal. Not only because of the situation itself, but that's a grown man quarterback throw right there. That's just a professional. Again, we're going to be wowed by other throws in his career. We were wowed by another one in the game where he's rolling right, craziness that had but just the ability to combine being a magician with being a quarterback is, I mean, people talk about redrafts and blah, blah, blah and shit. Cut it out. Cut it the fuck out. Just watch this kid play football.
Yeah, the redraft stuff. Jesus Christ. I used to think redrafts were silly after the first year, and now
Agreed.
people are doing it mid fucking season. Like,
Yeah.
what are we doing here? No, they, again, you make a really good point about the magician stuff because I'm much more impressed with the in structure throws than I am. I mean, obviously, like the throw that he made to DeAndre Swift, like I hate to go Chris Collinsworth or Tony Romo here, but it's a little Matt Stafford you know, the original creator of that. I mean, that's special shit. Like we've talked about it. Like even when Caleb was struggling in those games, against Arizona and Washington, there were still special throws. But like the in structure stuff is what makes me so excited because that's what professional quarterback looks like. That's the difference between some of the guys that you were mentioning that have played quarterback here, in Chicago before. That's the biggest difference is those throws, they can happen, right? Zach Wilson can do those types of throws. But when your quarterback can consistently win from the pocket, those are the guys who are going to be here the longest. And one of the things that did not get talked about enough and hasn't really been talked about enough, especially these last couple of weeks with Caleb running the way he has, I am so impressed with his ability to and his willingness to not just take shots. He's very smart about the way he runs. He knows when to get out of bounds. He isn't going for that extra yard. You saw it on that one at the end of the game where he leaps over the guy and keeps running on that fourth down to get out of bounds. He was angling to get an extra yard, saw the guy coming and just said, nope, I'm going to veer off and just whatever. It is what it is. Like that's the stuff I like seeing with guys who run and who are athletic like Caleb, because we've seen a lot of quarterbacks who are just, I'm bigger than you, I'm stronger than you, I'm going to take a couple of these hits. It's fine. I want that extra yard. I love the way that he's protecting himself. And that's something that I think just that's the look of a guy who is going to be in this spot, this situation for a very, very long time. And it's really, really exciting, honestly. Again, that's not even talking about some of those throws that he was making, because my God, the one thing, Frank, that I do want to talk about with all of this great stuff that we saw, there's the fact that there's still very clear room for improvement is very exciting to me. He's not a finished product. We saw that throw to Rome. He had Rome. How many of those have we seen this year where it's like, yeah, God, if he could just complete those throws, I'd feel a lot better. But then he comes right back and throws one right to Rome, and Rome makes it, or that might have been a couple plays before now that I'm thinking about it. But
no, that may have been the next play. I think the missed shot to Rome was a third down, and then it was a fourth down, I think.
In the window throw, right, to Rome, where Rome is just makes an absolutely incredible catch. Like, there's such clear improvement, like room for improvement with Caleb, that I think with good quality coaching that we saw with Thomas Brown these last couple weeks, I mean, it just, I don't know how you watch what he did against the Vikings and come away thinking, oh man, Bo Nix would be really nice in this offense. Jaden Daniels, maybe Drake May. Like, I don't know, man. If you're not sold on Caleb after this game, then just find a new team to root for, because you're not going to ever be in on this guy.
No, I'm right there with you. And I think that's a good segue into the sack that, me and you will both share our thoughts on, because that is what people, you're going to have these guys who, what you just described, they're never going to be sold on him. They're going to have some weird agenda, whether it's the Fields cult or whoever, whatever reason you don't like the guy or didn't want him here. The sack was bad. Again, I always like to credit ourselves with the ability to, just call things like they were. And even in the moment, just watching it, I think we were texting, I was like, Caleb, that was totally on him. You have 5-6 seconds to throw. You either throw that, you roll out, you throw that thing away, or I mean, maybe even try to run, I don't know. But the biggest thing, he missed Swift on that little dump off to throw him a little bit of a bone. Swift and or Kmet should have broke off of it like a second or two early. They both had the guys. They didn't need to block him that long. That was okay. But even then, once Swift did break off, Caleb did look at him and he got a little bit spooked that the defensive end was kind of in his face, and he could have just made a nice little dump off. And I didn't see the all 22 on that particular play, but it looked like there was some decent green in front of him that he could have moved. So I guess final point for me in the whole Caleb section or segment of the House of Halas episode 1 is I gave him an A-. We mentioned some of the misses that he had that lowered his grade a tad bit, but it just is made up for by the big time throws that he made. It would have been, I think, an A had he not taken that sack, potentially an A+ if you lead the team to the overtime win with a touchdown.
So call me crazy. I'm giving him an A+.
Wow, even with the sack at the end?
Even with the sack, because
talk to me, Jackie.
They shouldn't even been in overtime if it wasn't for him.
That's fair.
Caleb's fourth quarter numbers are just absolutely in. This dude, get him a competent head coach, get him a competent play caller, get him a good, whatever you need to get him. He's going to be a quarterback that you win a lot of games with. Now, I know it doesn't look like it right now. They're 4-7. He hasn't played great these last 2 games. I think he's been phenomenal. Like, he's shown this is the type of quarterback that you are going to win games with. Caleb Williams. Now, think about this, Frank. Think about how good the Vikings have been when it comes to blitzing quarterbacks. I'm going to read you this tweet here from PFF, if you will. Caleb Williams versus the blitz in his last 2 games. 86.2% adjusted completion rate, 276 passing yards, 4 big-time throws, 0 turnover-worthy plays against the blitz. And ideally, that's what the blitz is there for. It's to get young quarterbacks panicked into making mistakes. He has not thrown anything that could be considered a turnover-worthy play in the last 2 weeks against the blitz. That's special stuff, man. Like, Caleb Williams, he did everything he possibly could to get this team into overtime. And for that reason, I have to give him an A+. I get it. The sack was not good. But I also wasn't as bad as I think a lot of people, especially when you're looking at the TV or watching on TV, what it looked like, because you can't see the entire play. The play design was not very good. It was 3 guys, his 3 receivers going to one side of the field, carrying the entire defense over with them. There wasn't a lot of spacing. There was really nowhere to go with the football. I agree with you that he should have had the dump off. The problem is, like you were saying, Cole Kmet and DeAndre Swift were both blocking the same guy. They both decided to let that guy go free and then tried to leak out as the flat route. One of them, they needed to do a better job of communicating. One had to go while the other kept that guy contained. Caleb just didn't have anywhere to go with the football. Now, obviously, there was a lot of time to roll right, maybe just throw it away. Totally agree with you. But in regards to was there anywhere else for him to really go with the football, because I know that's obviously been a big talking point, he's maybe just not seeing it. On that specific play, there was not really anywhere to go. And then obviously Kmet and Swift made the mistake of both letting the guy just sort of run free, and Caleb had really nowhere to go with it. So it was bad. It can't happen. It's a great learning opportunity for him. But that being said, it wasn't like he just didn't see Rome running wide open free.
Right.
He just missed him or anything like that, or just made a bad throw. So it can't happen. It wasn't a good look, but I don't think it was as bad as I initially thought it was. So with that being said, I still have to give him an A+, because just the way that he kept this team in the game, the big throws, I mean, the windows that this dude was throwing into, Frank, it doesn't get any better than that. You could put any quarterback in there, and it can't get any better than what Caleb was doing this week specifically.
I agree. I just think the sack, a couple of the missed throws.
Fair. That's fair.
I don't hate the A+ because the logic being, you're right. The logic is there. They don't even get to overtime without some of the insane throws and plays that he made. Totally get that. I'm just saying you sound like Hillary Clinton. That's all.
Love it. I get my pantsuit. I'm getting fitted for it.